Hey everybody, and welcome to FYB's live French Open coverage. Today is June 3rd, Friday, of course. I'm Will Hamilton alongside Adam Szyminski. Before we get started, I want to thank Championship Tennis Tours for sponsoring this webcast. There's a link to their website right below. If you are going to go to any tennis tournaments this summer, please get your tickets through them. And if you're going to the U.S. Open and you get your tickets through them, you can hang out with us at one of their cocktail parties, and that's going to be a lot of fun.
Wait a minute. Today's not Friday. It's Thursday.
Thursday. Well, and on that note, let's hit the pause button and we'll start over.
Rewind.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to FYB's live webcast. Today is Friday, 3rd.
Yep.
We got to talk about the women's semifinals were today, and yeah, Farno's obviously already commenting on my presentation voice. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's fantastic.
And you know, if Adam doesn't have the presentation voice, please let him know in the chat. For those of you who are not in the chat, please log in.
Hey guys, it's Saturday.
It's Saturday.
Day before the final.
It's I think it's anyway. Log into the chat if you haven't already, and you can win some free prizes from us later on. So why don't we jump right into it? Today we'd like to end right at about 5:30 because then I got to make some preview videos for tomorrow's matches, and then I got to take off. Gotta head out tonight, so
right. We'll have fun.
we're gonna see if we can stay on schedule. You'll be invited next time. Don't worry about it.
Sure.
Okay. Well, let's start with the
I'll clip over to the
Francesca Schiavone, Elena Dementieva match to start, because this obviously most noticeable because of this thing right here.
Yep.
Dementieva retired. Apparently, she had a calf injury. She tore her calf, I believe. She said in the second round,
yeah.
And she battled through it. Apparently, she was almost, about to retire in her third round match, but she pulled it out. So she'd been playing injured. I hadn't heard anything about this, and apparently neither had any of the commentators, sort of the boots on the ground at.
Do you think there's any particular advantage for these players if they are injured and then they just don't tell anyone? Or do you think it's better to let it be known that you're not playing 100%?
Well, I would typically think you want to tell your opponent, I have a leg issue, run me. I mean, there's essentially what,
yeah, sure.
that would communicate. And, it's a situation where if you're playing a match and you see your opponent do one of these, in between points, or the hands on the knees. Yeah, exactly. If you're on the court and you pick that stuff up, you say, well, now it's time to go corner to corner.
Yeah.
And, really make this person earn it and work for it, and make it hurt. So I think there was definitely some strategy there on her part to not communicate that her calf was messed up. A little interesting during the match that she after she lost the breaker 7-3, she just up and retired and didn't even ask for a trainer.
Right.
Now what she said was, well, the injury was there. It wasn't like I injured myself during the match, and it was just really painful.
Right.
And I couldn't keep going. And if that's what she said, I'm certainly inclined to believe that. I mean, I'm sure she was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
My only thing was, the match was in a breaker in the first
Like,
set. It's a semifinal. Can you keep playing?
If you can tough it out, I mean, not only.
And she said she couldn't. She said it was too painful. So if that's the case, then who are we to judge that? But
well, we're us.
That's true.
I mean,
we've got another 20 minutes to talk, so we have to talk about something. So we'll just question now.
Right.
So yeah, I mean that was just it sort of raised an eyebrow, but she said afterwards it was it was pretty painful. And if you look at the stats of the match, she seemed to be doing a number of things very well, particularly serving, which has typically been her, or in the past has been a weakness of hers. 71 on the first serve percentage is great, and she was making a number of unforced errors, more than winners, but that's to be expected against Dementieva is a pretty aggressive player. Schiavone is a clay courter, more defensive.
Yep. So
Dementieva, if she's going to win this match, is going to have to go for her shots, and that's what she was doing. And I thought she definitely looked pretty solid until that breaker where it looked like she made some shot selection decisions trying to end the point early because she was starting to struggle with her movement. And I guess my final thought on that is she seemed to be moving okay earlier in the match, and then in the breaker, I believe it was Brad Gilbert says, did you just notice her movement kind of went south over these last couple points? It was either her or Mary Jo Fernandez, so maybe she aggravated it in the breaker. Who knows how what the exact situation was, but it's unfortunate because this has got to be a situation for Dementieva who there's no big name like a Serena Williams or an Enna or a previous Grand Slam winner in the draw left. So this was a good shot for her. I mean, this was a great chance to win a major. So it's unfortunate that has to slip away, particularly due to an injury.
Yeah, but just as an aside, guys, it's also thunderstorming outside of where we are here. We got some lightning and thunder, and rain is coming down. So if the webcast just stops for no apparent reason, it's probably because we lost power. Just to give you guys a heads up on that. I guess there's mixed doubles to talk about. So the final. Let's go. Let's keep it on the women's side.
We got to talk about Stosur, Jankovic. And Santa says, "Go to your nemesis, Stosur." We're getting there. Status X says Galarraga got robbed.
We'll talk about Galarraga. We'll talk about that at the end of the webcast.
Maybe, yeah. That's Major League Baseball.
Yep.
This. What do you say about? First of all, I predicted this match correctly. Finally, I took everybody's advice and I went with Stosur. So showing me the light, and if you want a confirmation of that, you can go look at Facebook or Twitter. But here's
flip over here. Here's the score line. What do we got? Stosur is up top.
Yep, and then it was 1 and 2. So it was a total beatdown.
I like how we jinxed that right there. Total beatdown.
What do you mean?
We both said it at the same time.
Well, that's because you're copying on my verbiage.
I know.
So you gotta come up with your own catchphrases, man.
Everything I learned from Will Hamilton.
The interesting thing about this match is just that it was such a lopsided affair, and Jankovic has what appears decent first serves, and she won 38% of her first serves, which is impressively bad. And if we scroll down a little bit, it's not like Jankovic wasn't hitting the first serve. She was hitting her first serve just fine.
Yeah.
It was 10 kilometers slower than Stosur's average first serve speed, and the second serve speed was pretty comparable as well. Stosur just took it to her. I mean, Stosur just played great, played aggressive, and Jankovic just never really had a shot. I mean, it was really surprising watching the match just how kind of one-sided it was, and how Stosur was just in control of.
She looks very strong here at the end of the tournament. I mean, I think she has to be a favorite going into the final.
Yeah, I mean, I think my prediction is she'll win. She'll beat Schiavone if she continues to play the way she's playing. My view on matchups between various styles is the aggressive player versus the defensive player. The aggressive player is going to win if she plays well, if she gets her shots in. And Stosur with the serve, the first serve, the other thing I wanted to talk about the other day when Stosur beat Serena, which I forgot to mention, is ESPN had a great graphic where Stosur's first serve height versus the second serve kick serve height.
Yeah.
Stosur has a great kick serve, one of the best on the women's tour. And there was a huge difference between how high these two serves were coming in. So she did a great job of manipulating her opponent's contact heights, and that's something you don't see too often on the women's tour. It gave Serena a ton of problems. I expected to give Schiavone a ton of problems, and if Stosur's running around her backhand and hitting her inside in forehand well, and just generally playing aggressively and hitting big, I think she'll probably come out on top in this match. I think having, this is a first Grand Slam final for both these players, but I think having come through Enna and Serena, and then having won convincingly today, she's got to be pretty confident. They're both going to be nervous in their first Grand Slam final.
Yeah.
but you would think Stosur would have a ton of confidence, having made the semis last year, and then having beaten so many good players and in tight spots this time around.
Someone was asking, how does Stosur get so much kick on her serve for being so short?
Well, I mean, it's just a technique thing.
It is. I think it is. I mean,
I'm
flawless technique.
Oh, sure. I mean, I'm not very tall. I'm 5'8", and I can kick the ball over Adam's head, and he's 6'2". So it's just a matter of, is your technique fundamentally sound or not? And, obviously, once it is fundamentally sound, then you ramp up racket head speed. You make the thing real consistent. You can tweak your grip just, to maximize your physical talents.
I mean, you can kick the ball up over my head, and I'm 6'2". I could kick your head. You're like 3 feet tall.
Well,
I'm not that flexible. I'm going to be honest.
The roundhouse kick is just it's perfectly. Well, that's why I'm a tennis player and not a kickboxer.
Yeah.
I would fight dirty though, so I'd win anyway. I'd go straight for the knees.
Yeah.
But. Getting back on track, the kick serve, again, it's just a matter of technique, like the flat serve, or basically any other shot in tennis is most of the power comes from technique, and then you can increase the efficacy of any shot by then getting yourself in good shape. Essentially, if you look at the pros, they have flawless technique, and then they're physically just in incredible shape. You always hear McEnroe talk about how a guy was good and he was talented, and then he put in the time in the gym and his ranking jumps 50 points.
Right.
Look at Soderling. He started being coached by Magnus Norman, who was a fitness freak. When Magnus was on the tour, he was renowned for just being in the gym all the time. He would wake up in the morning and go run for 45 minutes, hit the court, then he'd hit the gym, then he'd hit more tennis balls. He was just an animal, and he's taken that work ethic to Soderling, who, from an upper body standpoint, he's incredibly strong. But he's seems to have increased his endurance so that he can hang out there with a Rafa or a Federer in a clay court, which points tend to last longer.
There's an interesting question from Farno in the chat, which is, does height make a difference with power? And I'm not certain that height makes a difference in power just in terms of purely, perhaps if you have longer arms, your lever arm on the serve is a little bit longer.
Sure.
And that may increase your power ever so slightly. I think it has probably more to do with the fact that taller guys, especially with someone like an Isner or a Karlovic, have to spin the ball less to make it drop in. I mean, Isner can completely flatten out his serve and spike it straight down, basically, at almost 6'10".
Yeah.
He's a foot taller than the rest of the guys, and they also don't have to hold back at all, because the taller you get, the greater your window becomes. Your window for error essentially becomes, because you can hit the ball lower and it won't go in the net. And so you don't have to hold back on the power that you put on the ball, because you have so much more room for error.
Yeah. So there's the if you read what is the physics of tennis. Brody, he says for every 6 inches you raise your serve contact height, which you can do by jumping, for example. For a standard 100-mile-an-hour serve, average 100-mile-an-hour serve, you're going to get 30% more of them in.
Yeah.
So if you're, making contact, let's just say at 7 feet in the air, I'm just making that up, and you're serving 50% at 100 miles an hour, and then your contact point to 7 feet 6 inches, you're going to get 65% of your first serves in at 50%.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, at 50%. You're going to get 65% of your serves in at 100 miles an hour. And that's simply because of the angle and your sort of margin for error.
Sure.
So, with that in mind, let's round out this discussion of the women. Does anybody
I want to illustrate this, actually. Go pull up YouTube on the computer over here, and I just want to show you guys what we're talking about. Serving down, and this is gives you a pretty good example of this.
What am I searching for?
Type in John Isner on YouTube. That's all you need to type in. Just hit that, and then a video we shot is going to come up here. Let's clip over to the computer screen here so people can see this. And then fast forward it to about 2 minutes in. And this is John is 2 minutes in. John Isner and John McEnroe playing doubles against the Bryan brothers. And in just a second here, John Isner is going to serve on the ad court to, I think who's the lefty of the Bryan brothers? Darn it, now I can't remember. I think it's Bob. But coming, all right, right here. Take a look at that serve. That's a flat serve, and look at where it lands in the box. It's insane. I mean, hopefully you guys can see this coming through.
I'll rewind it and when it lands.
I mean,
so it's landing
it's
right
landing,
here.
Within the first half of the service box, on its way over. I mean, just keep playing that on loop a couple times and let people get a look at the trajectory of the ball. The ball does not curve down because he's putting spin on it. It goes straight down, and the ball is already bounced up above. I think that's Mike's head. I mean, and he struggles to get to that ball.
Yeah, that ball was bounced. Yeah, it was up
insane.
and about.
And
now they're making fun of.
Oh yeah, let me click back at the computer here because you can see that Bob.
So this is
Mike,
after the point up here. This is an exhibition.
You can see Bob and Mike on the far court, standing on top of each other to make fun of how tall John Isner is. Pretty classic exhibition match tennis there, hamming it up for the crowd, but.
The poll has not been done yet, so we will get to that in a second. If you guys have any final thoughts on these two matches, like I said, I think we talked about the women's final. I think you're going to get Stosur on top over Schiavone because I expect Stosur to continue playing well, and I think offense typically is better. Is going to overcome good offense overcomes good defense. Let me phrase it that way, even on clay. And you already had a defensive player in Jankovic, who got beaten up pretty badly. I think Schiavone's playing better than Jankovic, but I still don't think it's going to be quite enough.
Let's do our giveaway real quick because it relates to women's tennis, and then we'll switch gears.
Okay. Well, today, why don't we get this giveaway?
We've got about 5 minutes left here, I think.
Yeah, we'll go a little bit long. We'll hit on the guys real quick, and then we'll call it. But yeah, the $25 gift card. Adam, you have a question.
So the question is, what was it? Okay, in the Open era. So that's what, since 1968?
67, 68.
Yeah, 67, 68. In the Open era, what woman has the most French Open singles titles? Not total titles, just single titles. What woman has the
First
most?
person, $25 gift card from Tennis Express.
I think we have a winner.
Already done. Santa Claus is on top.
All right. Bam. A lot of people said Graf. That was also, I think, what came out of your mouth first when I asked you that question. Not a bad guess. But it is indeed Chris Evert. And, gosh.
So Santa, I just sent you a
And also, of course, I'm sure you've heard Suzanne Langland's name tossed around a lot during the French Open as well. She has the most titles before the Open era, with 6 titles.
No, Tarantula, it is not Dementieva.
Unsurprisingly. Here's a quick, this isn't for a gift card, but here's a question for you guys. Who has the most consecutive singles titles on the women's side? In the Open era. This is an interesting question for people. The most consecutive women's singles
Nothing to win on that one.
Someone says Bjorn Borg.
Oh, no.
That's awesome. But no. It is, in fact, Justine Enna. Yes. 2 people got that before I said it.
All right, well, let's...
All right, yeah, let's switch gears here real quick.
Let's preview real quick the 2 matches we got tomorrow.
All right.
We got Rafa, whoops, I lost my magnifier. We got Rafa versus
Meltzer
to start. This, I don't think this is going to be an incredibly interesting match. I to be honest, think this is going to be
I got to be honest,
setter.
I think we're headed straight for a Meltzer-Berdych final.
Meltzer, yeah. If that happens, I'm canceling the Sunday webcast. We're not going to be here. No disrespect to those guys, but yeah, I mean, I think Rafa is, if we go back to the stat lines from yesterday, some of them, Meltzer was not clutch at all in the big situations, and against Rafa, you're not 24 break chances. and 4 for 24. That's 17%.
Yep.
I mean, that's just not going to get it done. And he's first of all not going to have that many chances. And Nadal against Almagro, who was essentially trying to take Soderling's playbook and wasn't able to execute at quite a high level. Meltzer's going to try and do that. He was playing aggressively against Djokovic, right on the baseline. I expect him to do that against Rafa, but I just don't think he's going to be able to execute it nearly as well as some of these other guys. So I think that's going to be a straight setter. Now we transition to Soderling, Berdych. This has the potential right here. Yeah, this has the potential to be an interesting match. I think it all ultimately comes down to Soderling's level. I mean, I think he is in a better position to dictate play on most points than Berdych is. Now Berdych has a big game. If he serves big and can take control early on, then he can hit big off both sides. Then he's certainly gonna be in the driver's seat in most of his service games. But he doesn't hit as big as Soderling, and if Soderling maintains that level against Federer, then I see Soderling winning this one. I'd say in about 4 sets. I think sounds right. And I think he's been playing mentally tough as well, and Berdych, like we've said before, I'm sort of up in the air about his mental toughness, which kind of is intermittent, and he has been known to tighten up in big points.
Yeah.
So I think I do not think it's going to go 5 sets. I wouldn't be surprised if Soderling won in straights. I think it'll be 4 sets though. I think Soderling is playing really, really well. I think he's got a ton of confidence, that's just sort of my view on that match. But I expect a lot of short points. I don't think you're going to see too much grinding from the baseline. SW. If you watched our Miami final coverage, Berdych's backswing on his forehand is sometimes discontinuous. If he has time, he'll take it back and then just stop, and then he'll continue with the rest of his mechanics. And that is a situation. We go back to our discussion from the other day where we're talking about how Serena Williams' technique holds up under pressure because it's technically sound. So, you get a little nervous, maybe the arm gets a little tight, you're still executing your strokes properly, so your serve goes in. Well, because Berdych has that discontinuous swing path, what you saw in Miami was against Federer in particular is when there was a lot of pressure and Berdych had was setting up discontinuous swing path, he would time the ball incorrectly. He'd end up late, specifically when his racket head speed got a little bit down because it was a tight spot. So the pressure can cause technical issues with somebody like Berdych, where that's not going to happen with Soderling because he doesn't stop his backswing. His motion's more fluid. So I do think there's some technical issues there with Berdych, but that's only on his forehand. But that is the side that sort of goes off if he's just not timing the ball well, or if the situation gets kind of tight.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, are you putting together a poll?
Yeah, I was going to put together a poll, but I'm going to keep it on the down low here.
Keep it on the DL.
Until, yeah.
Well, why don't you guys shoot a couple questions at me in chat real quick, and then we'll hit on those, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
You want to talk about Galarraga, or are we just going to
talk about Gala? I don't know how many people here follow Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Guy got robbed. It's a good excuse for
baseball's
a perfect game.
Sport. I think most people have an inkling of what goes on.
We'll talk about tennis. The highlights are all over the internet if you want to check that stuff out. So I'm just scrolling through the chat real quick to see if we got any questions from various people. XH, do I think Meltzer's going to change his strategy against Rafa? I don't think so. I mean, the guy, you can't beat Rafa on clay by trying to grind with him. So he's going to have to stand up, not let Rafa pull him off the court, and go for his shots, and play basically with controlled aggression. I mean, basically, he's going to have to do what Almagro did, except better. and he's going to have to do what Soderling did last year. And I don't think Meltzer has a big enough game to pull that off.
So the poll question's out there now in the video, and the poll question is sort of unrelated, but it's whose serve would you rather have? If you could have one of the top pros on tour's serve, whose would you have? I don't know. I guess you can think about why. I mean, guys like Andy Roddick certainly has like the fastest serve ever hit. It's certainly a bomb. John Isner's serve is like a vertical nose dive down into the court that then bounces up above, his opponent's strokes. And Pete Sampras, probably the best disguised serve ever, and could certainly place it on a dime. Or Federer. I mean, Federer's serve is a model of consistency. So, and he has a flawless classic motion. So
yeah, do a couple. I'll chime in on that once we get the results.
Yeah.
Results in, but back to the Meltzer. The Meltzer strategy. Yeah, he's going to stand up. He's going to have to play aggressive, or he's not going to get it. He's not going to get it done. Let me see what other questions we got here in the chat before we answer the poll question, or we get to the poll and wrap this up. Doesn't look like there's too many questions today. More conversation, good, but.
Yeah, so I don't know what else. Tomorrow's a big day because we're going to know who's in the final tomorrow. So
yeah, I mean, we'll those matches.
You guys are tuned in for that.
I think they start 8 a.m.
Yeah, that's early, but not too early.
No, it starts. Never mind. It's no, it does start. It starts 7 a.m. with
1 p.m. in France is 7 a.m.
7 a.m. here.
Yeah, so that's early. If we run into Pete Sampras at an event, we'd be happy to do an interview with him.
We'll see what we can do there. But
pull up the interview of you and John Isner.
No, I've had enough ridicule for today, so we don't need to do that. When am I getting a haircut? The next time, that's a question from Eric Papamarcos. The next time Penn State wins a national championship, and I'll get a haircut. So it might take a while.
All right, let's wrap this up with who serve would you want to have and why?
Well, I would
out of those options.
Let's go over the
we had Isner, Sampras, Federer, and Roddick. Tell me why whose serve you want to have and why.
Well, I would go. I think my opinion is Pete Sampras has the best serve ever, and I would go with that. The game was incredibly consistent. Had a very high first serve percentage. It was disguised, and he could place it on a dime. And Agassi essentially described it as I would get up there and I would guess, and I'd take 2 lunging steps in either direction and hope to get my racket on the ball. Also a very heavy serve, a lot of rotation on it. So guys said it was like returning a bowling ball. Speed is cool, but it's not nearly as important as some other factors. Placement, consistency.
Yeah, I mean, if huge serves were the hallmark of what made a good tennis player, then pace on the serve, then you'd see Roddick and Isner would be like the top 2 players in the world right now.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Monfils would be up there. He can certainly bomb it.
If a pro player, if they know where the serve's going, it doesn't matter if it's 150 miles an hour, they won't have trouble returning it.
Right.
And I play guys sometimes. I might have told this. I'm not sure if I told this in a premium instructional webcast or during one of these. I have a buddy who has got a very big serve, about 125 miles an hour, but his control isn't quite there, so he'll just basically put it down the middle of the service box.
Yeah.
And because I know where it's going, I just take a couple steps back, and once you get grooved, it's not really super difficult to return those serves.
Sure. And even a fast serve, 130 mile an hour serve, is going about, I think, less than half that speed when it actually makes contact with the returner's racket.
Yeah, it loses a lot when it bounces and kicks back up to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's the results on the poll, and then we'll wrap this.
Results of the poll were that people were evenly split between Roger Federer's serve and Pete Sampras' serve. They like both of those. And some late votes, I would say, came in for Sampras.
Yeah, that's I'm biasing the results.
Right.
It's interesting that it was Sampras and Federer. Federer's got a great serve. There's other guys on the tour with better serves, I think, than Federer. Roddick being one of them. I think Roddick has a better serve than Federer does. Not to say that Federer's serve bad; it's great, but I think Roddick, it's a little, if Roddick didn't have his serve, you'd never hear from the guy.
Yeah.
You know,
his ground game, like Isner's,
it's very
is not
good.
amazing.
Well,
Roddick's ground game is better than Isner's.
Yeah.
I think Isner's serve is potentially better than Roddick's. I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say. Isner has
It's hard
a really,
to equate.
really good
It's hard to
serve,
equate all that
and,
stuff.
Yeah. And it's pulled Isner out of a lot of troubled situations.
But I think definitely Roddick is a little bit better than Federer. Might get some disagreement there, but yeah. With that in mind, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. I need to make the preview video for these two matches. We got behind unfortunately yesterday and wasn't able to do it.
All right.
So I gotta fire these things out real quick. Santa, I messaged you regarding those gift cards or the gift card with directions. So check your right below the chat field is there's something that says audience, and then there should be a message from me. So check that out. But with that in mind, we will see you tomorrow, which is going to be Friday.
That will be Friday.
Tomorrow is Friday.
We're going to find out who is in the men's final tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
we will obviously be
exciting.
recapping all that stuff. And Adam, any parting shots before we?
My parting shots are: we're going to be doing a live during the final webcast. So in other words, like right now, I think we're on about a 5-second delay from you guys, and we are going to be, well, I won't be. I'll be lurking, as Will put it, behind the scenes. Will and Ian Westerman of Essential Tennis are going to be live webcasting the final.
We'll get you in here, man. Don't worry about it. You know, I'm going to need some refills, so somebody's got to do it. I can't get
this
up. I have to be
webcast is
watching
ending, and I hope that we
I
see
need
you
a
guys
I need a re-up
tomorrow, and I hope we see you at the final on Sunday.
See you guys tomorrow.
Bye.